On board a British liner escorted by minesweepers, the members of Norway's lawful government return at last to Norway. Chief among them, Mr. Nygaardsvold, Prime Minister, and the Foreign Minister, Mr. Trygve Lie, men who for 5 hard years of exile have worked incessantly for the liberation of their country. That liberation has now come, and in Oslo Harbour the people have gathered to give them the welcome they deserve. The faithful ministers of Norway step down to their native soil again. A week later, also with a large allied escort, King Hakon himself makes a triumphal return. From the deck of a British cruiser with his family, he waves greetings to his people. In big boats, little boats, in anything that will float, they have flocked out from Oslo to meet him. Coming ashore by naval launch, he is received by officials and allied officers assembled for this great national occasion. British and American troops form his guard of honor. Near the Oslo town hall, he takes the salute of his subjects. For both king and people, the long 5-year journey is over. Norway is happy. Freedom has safely come home. Its work of destruction cut short by Allied victory, a German submarine breaks surface in the Western Atlantic to surrender to the United States Navy off Cape May, New Jersey. An American prize crew goes aboard to take charge. These Germans will no longer need weapons of war. Next day, off the coast of New Hampshire, another U-boat changes hands. Once the hope of the German Admiralty, new, fast, and dangerous, but now with its crew safely in Allied keeping. Compared with the fate of so many thousands of German sailors during the last 5 years, these men are lucky to end their war on land. London, war-battered, tired, but happy and free at last, grants to an American an honor seldom granted to any foreigner before. To General Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of all Allied armies in the West, London gives the freedom of the city. With Air Chief Marshal Tedder, he rides in state through the streets. At the Guildhall, Prime Minister and Mrs. Churchill await his arrival. By the Lord Mayor. In his honor, in place of the Cross of St. George, the Stars and Stripes. The Duke of Wellington's sword is presented to him. It will later be exchanged for a sword made especially for him. Back through the cheering crowds to the Mansion House. No living American holds more the affection and respect of England. In the long campaign just ended, it was Eisenhower who welded the armies of two great nations into a single force, forgetting national considerations in the name of a cooperation which proved the key to victory. He is greeted by Mr. and Mrs. Churchill at the Mansion House. It is a happy day for the General, for America. It is a happy day for England. For they who hated war have proved that in their common will they can meet any test, no matter how severe, strongly and with the courage of free men. Siegen, once an important cog in the German war machine. The freight station in Siegen. The result of an 8-minute bombing attack by the RAF in the winter of 1944. Now, under the direction of the Allied military government, a civilian work party begins repairs. In some places, the track is already back in working order. The suspension bridge at Wuppertal, which was repeatedly bombed by Allied planes. Within a matter of months, German workers under Allied direction will have this railroad bridge back in service. Insofar as military needs require, insofar as it is vitally necessary for civilian requirements, the Allied military authorities are setting about the task of restoring Germany's railroads. Here near Rottweil in Württemberg, waiting their turn for transport home to the Soviet Union, live some of the many men and women, old and young, who were brought by force to Germany to work for Germany as forced labor. Now, under the protection of the French military government, their children born in slavery are given for the first time the necessary human care. The adults receive proper medical attention at the hands of French doctors and nurses. There are 6,000 of them at this camp near Rottweil. 6,000 out of many millions. Russians who have died or have suffered at the hands of Germany. They are Russians, and they are far from home. They pass the time with music of their traditional songs. And being Russians, they dance, but gravely. For they are tired, these people, tired of exile. The flag of surrender flies over Berlin. In the last days of the battle, as the Red Army stormed into the city, Chaos and wreckage surrounded them on every side. The white flag hangs before the Adlon. It was in this remnant of a city that the chiefs of the Allied Control Commission met to formulate the four-power government of Germany, the division of Germany into separate zones of occupation, and the plans for the complete eradication of all National Socialist laws, institutions, and military power. Field Marshal Montgomery arrives as the British representative. He is met by a Russian guard of honor. British and Russian ATS. The British Field Marshal inspects the guard. Nuremberg, the city of Dürer, and of National Socialist rallies. In the background, the Church of St. Lawrence. Here, in 1840, Christian Rauch erected the Dürer statue. The Leitpold Arena. The Congress Hall. Remains of Julius Streicher's house. Gestapo headquarters. The SS barracks, now a home for displaced persons. Meersfeld, it had been planned as a parade ground for the Wehrmacht. The statue of William I. Bismarck built him a Reich. Hitler destroyed it. Back from their victory in the skies of Europe, these American heavy bombers have crossed the Atlantic to land once again in America on a Connecticut airfield. They are just a few of the many now taking part in the great switchover of Allied forces from the West. Within 60 days, 3,400 of these bombers will have brought home 40,000 American airmen. Home, but not for long. After a month's leave with their families, most of the men will be continuing the journey westward to help hasten the final defeat of Japan. In the Philippines, the American 37th Division drives north on the island of Luzon. 6 miles from Baguio, the summer capital, they move forward through the brush, smashing the last Japanese positions to complete the conquest of the island. provide casualties. The Japanese have driven out of their foxholes. Enemy dead. Now that the enemy is gone, the Filipino children come out of their hiding places. After a fierce battle, Baguio is entered. Another long campaign is almost ended. Meanwhile, 800 miles to the northwest, on the island of Okinawa, in the valley south of Naha, flame-throwing tanks attack the crumbling Japanese line. From observation posts, Generals Geiger and Davao watch the advance. 9 separate times American troops had stormed this hill and had been driven back. Each time, mustering their forces afresh, they had gone forward again, until at the end, the hill was captured and held. Near the crest, they move up for the last time with tanks to support them. Here, too, the battle is almost over. In almost 10 weeks, Marines and the American 10th Army have conquered all but the southern tip of Okinawa. It has cost them 30,000 casualties. The Japanese have lost 50,000 dead. Naha is taken. The last enemy forces still fight their losing battle. They will be destroyed.